All right, wait. Okay. First episode. We're here.
All Things Fighting Podcast. I'm Ian.
I'm Adam. How should we do? Should we just go right into it?
Yeah.
All right. So, I guess first things first, we went to Verona for Odebek Kholmatov versus Raymond Ford. I guess just start us off. How's the experience in Verona?
It was great. I mean, I've been to one other fight in that it's at the Turning Stone Casino in Verona. Great. I mean, perfect place to have a fight, really. Because
Super low key venue.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, you get there, you get to that resort casino, and just everywhere you go, there is someone involved in the fights, which is just it helps get you it helps get you so ready for the fights that night. It just gets you all the more excited, and yeah, you get to meet the guys, and yeah, it was just a great place to hold a fight. Probably my favorite venue I've ever been at for a fight, I'd say.
Yeah, it was my first fight. Everybody was super nice. We saw every fighter so many times. It's like you don't even get starstruck by the time the fight's over.
Yeah.
Like you've seen everybody a dozen times. Great card too. Really good card. Probably, we've had a couple cards since, but I would still put that up with one of the best boxing fights of the year, the main event.
Yeah, definitely. So some of the fighters we met, first, I will say we met the guy Rohan Polanco fought Tariq Zaina. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not 100% sure.
He's one of the
Great guy.
bros.
He came up short against Polanco, but we met him for the first time. He was very nice, and then we saw him a couple more times before the fight, and then after the fight, just great guy, Tariq.
Yeah, we ran into one of his guys at the gym too.
Remember that? Yeah.
Who else? Luis Alberto Lopez we ran into. It was the first guy we met.
Mm-hmm.
Right after weighing in, Stitch Duran, Nico Ali Walsh, all generally in the same area. We always ran into the people right by the food court.
Right outside that Emerald restaurant too. I feel like they were all going there.
Yeah. I guess let's just go into the card itself. It kicked off Brandon Moore.
Guy.
Brandon Moore is the guy. Pretty good fight. I don't know how to explain it. It was very it's a heavyweight fight. Obviously heavyweights are slower than, your typical fighter. Brandon Moore did his thing. Who's his opponent? What was his opponent's name?
Helaman Ogwin. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but Helaman Ogwin.
Yeah, fought a little dirty.
It was definitely a rough fight. Not pretty.
What was your take on the fight?
I mean, I think Helaman was clearly outmatched, and I think he just did what he could to I don't want to say just not get finished, but do what he could to try and stay in the fight. But
Yeah,
Brandon just clearly had him outmatched in skill in every area. But I think Helaman did what he could to survive and make it the distance.
Yeah. What do you remember what the scorecard was? I didn't look back at the early fights of the card. I really looked at I watched the co-main back. I watched the main event back. What else? I think right after that did Nico Ali Walsh fight after that?
Was Nico right after that? I feel like there was one in between. Let's just go to Nico. If we remember it, we'll cover it. But
okay. All right. Nico Ali Walsh fought 10 days notice, I think. One of his
Charles. Shoot, is it Stanford or Stratford? I think it's Stratford, right?
I think it's Stanford.
But great fight. While I'm finding the name, it was a great fight.
Yeah, it was a really good fight. In terms of Nico Ali Walsh's performance against a 10-day notice guy, I feel like Nico needs to present something more than just, flashy footwork and I think Charles was still getting the best of him in some of these rounds. So I feel like in his next fight, he needs to, I guess, really shake up the boxing world. If this keeps going on with his career, where it's very on and off performances, I think Nico really needs to turn it up with his next fight. A knockout would definitely do him wonders. Probably get him to some better competition. But the question is how good would he be against better competition? Because he got outboxed pretty bad in some of these exchanges, and he could have lost the fight.
Yeah, the main thing I would want to highlight in this fight is I remember when the scorecards got read out, I think it was a shutout. I know at least one judge scored it a shutout. And
Yeah,
definitely it's Charles Stanford, by the way. I just looked. Charles Stanford, I thought, and especially in the early rounds, was countering very well. I mean, like Nico was the one on the offensive, but I mean, just it brute force, strength wise, it looked like Nico might have had him and just aggression. But pure boxing skill, I mean, especially for a guy coming in on just a few days' notice, Charles Stanford really impressed me. And I didn't think the scorecards did his performance justice at all. I think it was a pretty close fight.
yeah. Let's see who else. Rohan Polanco, Tariq Zania, great fight. Rohan Polanco put on a masterclass. Like his style is something to behold. I love that Philly shell American style. It's one of my favorite styles to watch, and he did a perfect display of that. I can't wait to see him fight some higher level guys.
Yeah, I mean, Rohan just really put on a clinic of calculated, efficient pressure. I mean, he was moving forward the entire fight, but kept a slick defense. I mean, Tariq is a very slick boxer. I rewatched one of his fight right before this fight, and very slick boxing, all that. I mean, he avoided some shots when he was on the back foot, but Rohan just took like all his slickness away and kind of just forced him into kind of the fight. Rohan set the pace of the fight early and was just moving forward. It really impressed me, his defense on the front foot and just his relaxation and calmness when he's in there to be able to see everything coming and counter well. And yeah, I mean, what really stood out from that performance is, I mean, the power
The
is real.
power, great knockdown. I believe that was pretty late into the fight.
Yeah, he got a knockdown, I think, either in the 5th or 6th round. And then the big knockdown, which it looked like Tariq was not going to get up from, which he impressively did, was at the closing seconds of the eighth round.
Yeah, I mean, what really stood out to me was the defense. I mean, Tariq just couldn't land. Like Rohan would press forward and Tariq would throw, but Rohan would either shoulder roll or parry his punch, and it would just end up being blocked and wouldn't land like a really clean shot on him.
Yeah, and that defense is all the more impressive when a guy is moving forward like that. You can just tell when he's in there, he's so like you could see he was like smiling and talking to Tariq at some points. Like he's just so relaxed and confident in his abilities when he's fighting. He's one of the best young fighters that Top Rank has, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Who else? Bryce Mills, sorry. Bryce Mills, hometown hero, put on
Yeah.
a really great performance. Um, I mean, that's who everyone was there for. It felt like either
Yeah.
Raymond Ford or Bryce Mills. Um, we
Bryce.
watched. Go ahead.
Bryce, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a solid fighter. I think his record's either 15 or 16-1 now, but I haven't really seen the opponent level go up that much as I'd want it to. And I don't know, I'm yet to see that big performance that really puts him into a like not even contender, but just like really up and coming prospect. Like he's a good solid fighter. Like I really like his style and that, but like I just like to see I'm yet to see that thing that's really sold me like some of these other prospects I have, like Rohan, for example.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
But I don't think he doesn't have it. Like, I'm just yet to see it.
Yeah, I'd say I want to say he should have a couple more fights before he really gets presented with a challenge. Because I don't, I great performance. I think it's because of his opponent. You know, if it was a higher level opponent, it probably would have been more of a challenge for him. But you know, give him a couple more fights to just enhance his skill, and I feel like he could do pretty well against some higher level opponents for sure.
Yeah, and maybe that's what he needs. I mean, you always talk about guys fighting down, like fighting to the level of their opponent, like fighting down to the level of their opponent. Maybe Bryce just needs a like higher skilled guy to really bring what he has out of him.
Yeah, for sure.
Floyd Diaz,
Floyd Diaz did fight,
pretty good.
looked looked pretty good. Not the probably one of the weaker fights on the card.
Floyd
Uh,
Diaz,
yeah,
I would say
I would
so. I mean,
nothing really stood out to me. It just kind of felt like it just felt like an average fight to me.
yeah, I remember when I've been to this venue to watch. I've been to this venue for two fights, two cards, and I remember the first time I was here, Floyd Diaz was supposed to fight Edwin Rodriguez, the guy he fought last Saturday on the card, and he got pulled out like the day before, and not a lot illness, something, not a lot of explanation as to why the fight got canceled, but I was excited to hear that that same fight was rescheduled for this one, long time in the making. And I mean, I think it was a close competitive fight that Floyd Diaz obviously got the
The
better of
better
and
of.
did the better work. But I mean, we've seen Floyd Diaz get some spectacular knockouts in the past, and I don't think Edwin Rodriguez, record wise, I don't think he has that great of a record, and probably a tough opponent. But in his next fight, I'd like to see a step up in competition and maybe a signature knockout for Floyd Diaz to really break onto the contender status at bantamweight.
Yeah. I I think in terms if we're looking in the context of the card as a whole, without a doubt, the performance that stood out to me the most was definitely Luis Alberto Lopez.
Yeah,
Um, I just his style is so unconventional and unorthodox. I personally his style to me seems very beatable at a higher level.
I agree.
Like I don't think if you put him against higher guys in his weight class, he looks very easy to counter. Like very easy to counter.
I,
Um
yeah.
if he throws a lot of looping punches that like a good counter puncher could easily shut his lights off if he throws, especially with the stuff that he was throwing against Ryabe.
Yeah. I think in his recent fights, he hasn't seen because Raya Abe, not really known for his power, and Michael Conlon, who was the fight before that, or no, it was Joaquin Gonzalez. I'm sorry. Joaquin Gonzalez that was a pretty close fight, the Joaquin Gonzalez fight. Joaquin Gonzalez, more of a typical orthodox, just conventional boxer puncher kind of guy, and he had some success against Lopez. I feel like his style is so effective, and it has been as of late against guys who don't pose as much of a threat with power wise, because there's not really much to be scared of. Raya Abe really not known for his power. Joe Gonzalez, a strong guy, but not really known for his power. Michael Conlon, not really known for his power. And then before that, Josh Warrington, definitely not known for his power. So yeah, I think if he goes against a guy who has some slick boxing ability and some decent power to him, maybe like a Raymond Ford, then he
Yes.
could get beat.
Which um are they in the same weight class, or is because Raymond Ford is moving up? He already vacated the belt.
They're in the same weight class right now, but yeah, Raymond Ford has said he's going to move up. So,
Yeah. How could we forget about the Brian Norman no contest?
oh yeah, dude, Brian Norman. It's just, I mean, when he signed with Top Rank, he had like a 90% knockout ratio, and he hasn't had a single knockout since he's been with Top Rank. I remember
Yeah.
I was at his first fight under Top Rank, and he like let it all go in the first 30 seconds when he like hurt the guy, threw the whole kitchen sink at him, couldn't get him out of there, and was kind of just couldn't really hurt him the rest of the fight, except for a
Yeah.
knockdown round 6, I think. But yeah, I mean, Janelson Figueroa, I think that's how you pronounce his first name. I
Mhm.
mean, this guy, Roymond Villa, who recently fought Jaron Ennis and knocked out, or not knocked out, got a majority decision victory over Rashidi Ellis about a year ago, is a big puncher.
Yeah.
Roymond Villa was 24-0, 24 knockouts when he fought
Mhm.
Janelson Figueroa a couple years ago on Showbox. Figueroa took him the distance. Did not win, lost a close fight that went the distance. And yeah, Brian Norman Jr., I think he's pretty reckless. I think everyone can see that.
Yeah.
And yeah, against a guy who's just got slick boxing skill in Figueroa. Was it in the first? It was in the first round, right? The knockdown.
Yes. I
Yeah, I
think
mean, just
so.
a beautiful right hand as Norman was coming in, caught him off guard, and I mean, the cuts too. There were so many cuts that shows how reckless Norman Jr.'s style is,
Mhm.
like how many cuts he's opening and stuff. And yeah, I think the no contest really lucked him out. I think he would have lost this fight to Figueroa.
For
It
sure.
wasn't
It's
the no contest.
unfortunate to see a fight end like that, obviously. I do think they should run it back. I think that would make for a really good fight on a future top ranked card.
Mhm.
Um, but uh who else? Troy Isley,
Oh my
amazing
God.
knockout, amazing knockout.
Best version of
Probably
O'Reilly I've seen, without a doubt.
probably the performance of the night, one of them.
I'd say so, yeah.
I know I said Luis Alberto Lopez, but I mean Troy Isley is a force.
Against a guy like Marcos Hernandez is, I mean, Marquise Taylor, who recently snapped the undefeated record of a Cuban middleweight, Yalvis Gomez. Uh, Marquise Taylor is a very good fighter, and Marcos Hernandez snapped his undefeated streak. Marcos Hernandez was known for giving young, up and coming guys very good fights, and he just looked completely outmatched against Troy Isley.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's talk about the main event. Like, amazing fight. Super back and forth. Odebek Kholmatov really put the pressure on Raymond Ford, and Raymond Ford turned around down on the scorecards.
Yeah,
Which
I don't know how I felt about those scorecards, but didn't matter to
yeah,
me.
I mean, we talked about it. I mean, when you're there, I feel like you see things differently than what you see on TV. So I mean, I guess I understand how judges can look at the fight differently.
Mm-hmm.
When I rewatched the fight, like I could definitely see Kholmatov getting the better of Raymond Ford in a lot of scenarios. But
I feel like Kholmatov was more quantity and Ford was more quality.
yes, yes, Raymond Ford was definitely landing the cleaner shots. Uh, and I mean, obviously, it doesn't matter in the end. He got the knockout in the last 7 seconds of the fight, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm really excited to see what's next for both of them. I think Kholmatov can easily fight for the belt again in his next fight.
Mm-hmm.
Against who is the question
I mean, well,
for
if you look
sure.
at the WBA rankings, because I would assume Kholmatov is still, if Ford vacates the WBA title and moves up, I think Kholmatov should still be like the number one contender, given he barely lost against
Yeah.
Ford, who is now the champion, now vacated. I trying to find here Freddie Anthony Rodriguez. Shout out to Freddie Anthony Rodriguez, Raymond Ford's coach in the corner.
Mhm.
In those first 3 rounds, I think I told you when we were watching live, I was like, I don't see a way Raymond Ford can win this. I thought Kholmatov was dominating, and then at the end of the third, he hurt Raymond.
Yeah.
And I went back and saw what he said in the corner. Just a great speech from, I think it was after the third round or shortly after, like in those middle to early rounds. Coach Anthony told Raymond Ford, he's like, you got to go for it. Really just got like, told him like, I think
Woke
their
him
game
up.
plan originally was to box. And I think Ford said this. They were surprised by Kholmatov's boxing skill.
Yeah.
And Coach Anthony, Raymond Ford's coach, uh, told Raymond Ford, it's like, we got to go for this. Like, We've got to be the
Yeah,
aggressor. We've got to really make a state. We've got to go for that. Like, we've got to go for the title. We've got to go forward. We're gonna have to go what we're gonna have to go against the game plan and go for this guy. And they did. And I mean that last round was one of the best rounds I've ever watched live.
magical. Um, I mean, we were right next to a bunch of Raymond Ford
Yeah.
fans. Which it was really cool to see everybody losing it for Raymond Ford.
Yeah.
A couple Uzbekistans in the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Kholmatov's got a lot of acquaintances at that Joel Diaz gym in I think it's LA or around that area, Southern California. I know there was a member of Bekmir Melikhuzev's team there,
Yeah,
and yeah,
had you
he brought out a lot of Uzbekistan fans there.
that had you geeking out. You're a big Bekmir
I'm the biggest
Melikuziev
Bekmir
fan.
Melikuziev fan. I have been for so long. I saw this guy's shirt and it said Beck the Bully on the back, and I was like, oh my, and is he here? Like I would dream to meet Bekmir Melikuziev. It's one of my favorite
Why?
fighters in boxing.
Why do you like him so much?
Dude, I mean
I mean,
his
I'm
style,
not disagreeing with you. I've watched him fight before. He's great, but like,
dude, his style, it is the most fan favorite style you'll ever see. One of the best body punchers in boxing. I
yeah,
mean,
for sure.
and I just love those Eastern European guys. I think they have really good styles, like the Triple G's of the world, like the Lomachenkos of the world. I just love that area of the map for boxing.
Yeah, for sure. I guess to move on here. I didn't catch this fight live. I did watch a couple of the fights back, but Stephen Butler put on an amazing performance. Beat one of the most durable fighters right now in the first round. I mean, what do you make of that? What do you make of Stephen Butler?
Dude, I mean, before I get into Stephen Butler, let me touch on some of the undercard guys. Wilkins Matthew, 19 years old. This kid might be the next Roy Jones Jr. The way he moves, just watch some of this kid's highlights. 19 years old, unbelievable the skills he has. I think
Yeah,
he's
for
8
sure.
0 now. Got a really good stoppage with a left hook, I believe it was. Great. Johanna Robio. Let me go on BoxRec real quick. I know the guy he fought, Johanna Robio, had like 19 losses and has only been stopped twice in those 19 losses and hadn't been
Yeah.
stopped for like years. Johanna Robio gets him out in the second round.
Yep.
Huge statement. Johanna Robio is going to be a force to be reckoned with at super lightweight, I believe is the division he's at. Going to be a force to be reckoned with. Mehmet Unal, pretty sure he's a light heavyweight. Goes pretty big puncher, knockout guy. Goes the full distance for the first time in his career, full 8 rounds, or goes the distance for the second time in his career, 8 rounds for the first time.
Yeah.
I mean, not like he had a bad performance or anything. The guy he was fighting, one of the best chins I've ever seen live. I mean, he was eating so many huge shots and just walking through them. Good performance from Unal. Nobody knows most underrated performance on the undercard probably. Arthur Biaslarnov, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yes.
Unbelievable performance. Think
Yeah.
he's one of
Huge
Eye of the
standout.
Tiger's newest signings. Oh my God, he is
Yeah.
good.
I
He
mean,
is very good.
that card was just knockout after knockout.
Unbelievable card.
I do think it's cards always stand out when you have performances like that. I think undoubtedly that might be one of the best boxing cards this year. I think it's going to be very hard to beat.
Just enjoyed it so much, dude. Enjoyed watching that whole card.
The main event was knockout of the year until we got
Anthony Joshua,
what we're
yeah.
going to talk about now. I mean, Knockout Chaos was a great card. I did not. I was busy, so I missed the first half, and obviously, like the fights were going on very early. They started at what, like 10 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah,
our
I think
time.
so. Mm-hmm.
So I was only able to catch Ray Vargas's fight, and then Jay Zhang, and then the main event. But I mean, I'll let you go about the first few fights, and then I'll jump in when we get to the Ray Vargas fight.
Louis Green is a can't remember who's fight. Louis Green, 16-3, I think, at the time of the fight. was fighting an undefeated guy and knocked him out in the first round with a huge right hand. So shout out to Louis Green. Really good performance. Credit to you. Justice Hooney versus Kevin Lorena. Kevin Lorena's mom passed away, I think, either a day or 2 days before this fight.
Yeah.
And he was going against guy Justice Hooney, either 8-0 or 9-0 at the time of the fight. And Justice Hooney was, I think the plan was for if Justice Hooney beats Kevin Lorena in style or like convincingly, they were going to put him against Daniel Dubois on the Matchroom versus Queensberry 5v5. I heard rumors that was the plan. And in the second round, Kevin Lorena nearly had Justice Hooney out of there.
Yeah.
Early goings were definitely Kevin Lorena. First 2 rounds were definitely Kevin Lorena's rounds. It looked like he could have knocked him out in the second round almost. Middle rounds, like, were controlled by Justice Hooney. He's got great variation and just variation on his punches and everything like that. Great boxer, very creative in the ring. 10th round, Kevin Lorena lands a huge left hand that had Justice Hooney out on his feet. Justice Hooney
Yeah.
barely survives, maybe even could have scored that at 10-8 round because how big the knockdown was. And Justice Hooney ends up getting a close, I think one of the scorecards was 96-94. I think the other two were pretty similar. Justice Hooney edges out a close decision victory. And then one other one I wanted to highlight, Turkish Al-Sheikh, I think that's how you pronounce His Excellency's name,
Yeah.
said he wanted Mark Chamberlain on this card. He said he picked
Mhm.
that. He saw Mark Chamberlain in fighting on some of the UK shows and was like, "I want you on this card." Mark Chamberlain went against a very known durable guy, Gavin Gwynn. I think that's how you pronounce it. And oh my God, was that a 4-round brutal display of force and power. I mean, in the second round, he had Wynn's eyes shut pretty much and knocked out his
Mhm.
mouthpiece with a couple punches and dominant from Mark Chamberlain. Mark Chamberlain is a force to be reckoned with. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess getting back into it, Ray Vargas against Nick Ball, we got a draw. I think it was a split draw.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Ray Vargas was pretty much handling the fight, in my opinion. Very controversial decision, it appears. I mean, you could make the argument it was a draw, but like Ray Vargas was pretty much handling the first half of the fight, and then
First 6 rounds were his without a doubt.
yeah, the body shots were the story of the fight. I mean, amazing body shots on Nick Ball because Nick Ball kept like pressing forward with a really high guard for some
He was
reason.
getting frustrated. You could tell.
Yeah. And then Nick Ball turned it around. He got a knockdown, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I talked. I feel like once he kind of started making it look like his fight, like obviously he's going to look better to the judges if he's doing better than he was in the recent rounds.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that was pretty much Ray Vargas's fight, but I mean, I could agree with a draw. I don't know. It depends on how you look at it.
Yeah. I mean, first 6 rounds, absolute domination from Ray Vargas. Just a masterclass in keeping range. And then I can't remember what round the first knockdown was, but
Oh yeah, terrible knockdown. Like,
I mean,
what a
like,
bad call.
here's what happened. Ray Vargas, they were in a like clinch type of area. I think the ref was about to break him up. Nick Ball pushes him, and as he's pushes him hard, Ray Vargas is falling back to the canvas. As he's falling back to the canvas from the push, Nick Ball throws a quick left hook that lands, and Ray Vargas falls, but not from the force of the punch, from the force of the push.
Yeah.
And I mean, I thought it was a horrible call from the ref. If he called that not a knockdown, Ray Vargas would have won the fight, which
Yeah.
I think just shows. I mean, controversial. Everyone seems to think Nick Ball won. Fights are scored round by round. First 6 rounds, you cannot argue Nick Ball
Ray
won any
Vargas.
of those rounds.
Yeah.
And then he made it a close fight, got the bad call with the knockdown. I think if anyone's going to win that fight, in my eyes at least, it's Ray Vargas. I'm not terribly upset with the draw, but I don't think you can give that to Nick Ball. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, and commentators were on some crazy.
Commentators were disrespecting Ray Vargas so much, dude.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to touch on, Israel Madrimov.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
That kid is up next. I mean, picks up the vacant WBA super welterweight world title. I got the chance to speak to Magomed Kurbanov before this fight, and he seemed pretty confident. And I mean, I like Kurbanov, I really do, a good guy, but he didn't have any answers for Madrimov's tricky style. And yeah, I mean, I thought it might have been a bit of an early stoppage, but I didn't think I thought it would have been the same result nonetheless. Like, just very impressive 5th-round stoppage from Israel Madrimov. Would love to see him fight Virgil Ortiz or Tim Tszyu or any of those guys. And yeah, he announced himself onto the world level on Friday.
For sure, for sure. I guess let's get into the co-main event: Zhilei Zhang versus Joseph Parker. We're both Zhilei Zhang fans.
I am the biggest Zhilei Zhang fan.
I love Zhilei Zhang. Joseph Parker is making a really big name for himself.
All credit in the world to Joseph Parker. It's insane.
His last fight against Deontay Wilder was, I mean, insane. Obviously, I think after the fight, we can all generally agree that Deontay Wilder is very much past his prime.
Yeah, that's not a prime Deontay Wilder, obviously, but it's still at the end of the day, Deontay Wilder. So
yeah, he did amazing this fight. Got knocked down twice against Zhilei Zhang.
First one was a big knockdown too.
Yeah, great performances from both guys. I think they should 100% run it back. They could definitely run it back as a main event.
Yeah, I could see that main eventing a Queensberry or even a Matchroom card. I don't know. I mean, dude, since the first Zhilei Zhang fight I watched was against Jerry Forrest, and I mean, if you watch that fight, if you haven't, go back and watch it. His gas tank, it's always hurt him, his gas tank. And yeah, I mean, he has like all the power in the world. Like, other than Deontay Wilder, I think he's the hardest punching heavyweight right now. And I mean, all the power in the world, but like, when I saw him at the weigh-in come in at 291, like the heaviest of his career, I was like, dude, like, what are you doing? This the biggest fight of your career so far, and you're coming in at your career heaviest. Like, I really hope there is a rematch clause, so we're gonna see it again, I'm pretty sure. Okay. I really hope he works on his stamina. I think if he works on it, bold statement here, I think if Zhilei Zhang gets a good gas tank, he is a top 2 or 3 heavyweight in the world.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously his 2 fights against Joe Joyce were magical. As Zhilei Zhang fans, like, those are the big like, obviously they're recent, but like, great knockout.
What broke him onto the scene?
Yeah, for sure. It's just a matter of, can he go 12 rounds? Like,
yeah,
I feel like you said, if he had that gas tank, if he kept going against,
he might have got him out in the 3rd round after that first knockdown. I mean,
yeah, for sure. I mean, what's next for Joseph Parker?
I mean, the rematch, and then I think when they have that rematch, I think the winner, if the winner doesn't get a title shot, if they do that rematch and Joseph Parker wins again, and he doesn't get anything except a title shot, then it's bad. I mean, his resume and like, just his comeback, his resurgence, people were writing him off after that Joe Joyce loss, and I mean, me myself too. Like, I mean, that's a bad loss to Joe Joyce, and I mean, just look at what he's done since. I mean, Simone Keane knockout, Deontay Wilder dominated and beat Zhilei Zhang. If he wins the rematch, he should get a title shot, nothing less.
Yeah, for sure. And then main event, Anthony Joshua, insane fight. I mean, lasted 2 rounds, but like, what can you say about Anthony Joshua that everyone hasn't said? Like, if he keeps going on this little revenge tour that he's going on, he could easily become
one of the best heavyweights of all time.
Yeah, for sure. And we talked about this yesterday. I mean, the way heavyweight is lining up right now, I mean, the result of all of these fights is who is the current greatest heavyweight in the world ever.
Yeah. I don't know if I told you that already. What I wanted to touch on, a year or two ago, people were calling this heavyweight era weak.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I think no matter what happens at these top level fights, we are going to get one of the greatest heavyweights out of it,
Yeah, for sure.
which I think is great. If Tyson
I
Fury
think this
beats
is one of
Usyk, what?
I think this is one of the best eras of heavyweights ever. Like
Yeah, it's
if you
definitely
look
proven
back, like
itself to be.
obviously, like early days we had the Alis, the Foremans, in the 90s, Mike Tyson,
Holyfield, Lewis, all them.
Holyfield, yeah. But I mean, you can make an argument that this could be like the greatest generation of heavyweights probably ever. And we've had the conversation about how the sport changes with time. I think if the way it works, like Fury versus Usyk, when we get the result of that, we'll definitely have an argument for one of these guys. Like Fury is, if Fury beats Usyk and then goes on and beats Anthony Joshua, he's one of the greatest heavyweights in the world, and if not one of the greatest heavyweights in the world of all time, for sure. And you can make the same argument for Usyk and AJ as well.
Yeah. Hot take here. I think if Usyk beats Fury,
Mm-hmm.
he is one of the best boxers ever.
Really?
Just flat out. Because think about what he's done. Undisputed at cruiserweight. Took out champions like Maris Breedis, Tony Bellew, knocked Tony Bellew out cold.
Yeah.
De-weaponized Murat Gassiev, who was one of the hardest. Chris Arreola has been in the ring with Deontay Wilder, and he's said Murat Gassiev hits harder. Usyk dominated. Usyk's
Yeah.
cruiserweight run is criminally underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Beat Michael Hunter, too.
Daniel
And at
Dubois knocked
heavyweight,
out Daniel Dubois.
at heavyweight, beat Derek Chisora, beat Anthony Joshua twice, knock out Daniel Dubois. If he beats Tyson Fury, I mean, he's top 5 boxers of all time. I don't see any way like around it.
Yeah. But I mean, to put the focus back on AJ, the Day of Reckoning card put on a great performance, turns around against Francis Ngannou, who a lot of people, I mean, Francis Ngannou's stock was through the roof prior to this fight, because of what he did to Tyson Fury. And I still have an immense amount of respect for Francis Ngannou, for what he's done with 2 fights in boxing. Yeah. I mean, he went toe to toe with like one of the greatest heavyweights right now. I mean, people arguably think he won that fight.
I know, yeah.
And close. comes around, fights Anthony Joshua. I mean, I think it's just a testament to how good Anthony Joshua is. Like, Anthony Joshua, I think, is heavyweight. He is the heavyweight division. He's, in my opinion, the best heavyweight right now.
When Anthony Joshua is doing well, the heavyweight division is doing well.
Yeah, for sure.
And one of the unsung heroes I'd like to talk about, let's think for a second here. In Anthony Joshua's comeback since the Usyk fights, he fought Jermaine Franklin, which was not a bad performance, but
yeah,
you know, you want a little more out of a Jermaine Franklin, very durable guy, but you just want to see a little more out of that.
Yeah.
Robert Helenius, and he was trained by Derek James in that fight. Next, Robert Helenius. Yes, he got the knockout. That's what everyone's going to focus on. He was getting on a 7 days notice, Robert Helenius, who got knocked out by Deontay Wilder in 30 seconds. You'd like to see him not struggle as much as he did.
Yeah.
Against Helenius. Was trained by Derek James in that fight. Who is he trained by in the Otto Wallen fight? Ben Davidson.
Yeah.
Who is he just trained by against Ngannou? Ben Davidson. Joshua has found his right match in Ben Davidson. I think with Ben Davidson, this is the best Anthony Joshua we've ever seen. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I mean, he made Francis Ngannou, like, I've talked about Francis Ngannou a lot. I've talked very highly of Francis Ngannou, especially after the Tyson Fury fight, and it, like, made Tyson Fury look like he had no business being in the ring. Like, obviously it was a close fight, but like scored the knockdown on Tyson Fury. You know, it was just a shock to see see Francis Ngannou do that good, and then to
Francis
turn
has never
around. I
been
mean,
dropped or knocked down in MMA
ever,
or boxing
yeah.
until the Joshua fight.
And yeah, Anthony Joshua made him look like he had no business being in a ring at all.
I think. Go ahead. I'll say something in a minute.
Complete. I would want to say a mismatch. I mean, obviously styles make fights. I think we've said that before with him and Tyson Fury. I mean, Tyson Fury's slower than Anthony Joshua. He's not used to straight punches. And yeah, Francis Ngannou was his guard is very like he paws punches a lot. He's very open to counters,
He's very
especially
loose,
hooks.
almost too much.
Yeah,
Like
and
very just nonchalant.
he also did look kind of like he didn't look the most like confident going into the fight. He looked kind of timid at the start.
Yeah.
I feel like he was very much aware of Anthony Joshua's power and the stakes of this fight because he already lost his last boxing match. And yeah, I mean, Anthony Joshua did exactly what he should have done against Francis Ngannou to get him out of there.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything Tyson Fury didn't do against Ngannou, Joshua made up for it in a true welcome to boxing moment. Like,
yeah,
Tyson Fury should have done that to Francis Ngannou as a welcome to boxing.
Yeah.
Anthony Joshua did it. Anthony Joshua showed Francis Ngannou that boxing's not a joke.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for what's next for Francis Ngannou, I mean, personally,
PFL,
I think he's got to go back to the PFL. But I mean, if he wants to do one more boxing match, I feel like Deontay Wilder would be a fun fight.
Yeah,
That
I
would
mean,
be a
they could
fun
definitely
fight.
still sell that. They could definitely still sell that as two of the biggest punchers of all time, really.
Yeah. And I mean, with the way Deontay Wilder throws, I mean, I feel like on paper, it could be a pretty back and forth matchup.
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
like we said, Francis Ngannou's not used to straight punches.
Yep.
And that is not what that's not what Deontay Wilder throws. Deontay Wilder trusts his power like a lot.
But Deontay Wilder does have that really good just straight right hand.
Yeah. But yeah, I do think the PFL is the move. They just had that fight with Renan Ferreira is the guy's name. Knocked him out in 21 seconds. Renan Ferreira knocked him out in 21 seconds. That's the fight to make. I mean, why keep holding back the heavyweight division?
Let Francis go get his confidence back in MMA and get some wins in MMA. Is his sport. Co-main event to Butler Rolls, Osleis Iglesias. Everyone wants to talk about Stephen Butler knocking out a durable contender in the first round. Marcelo Esteban Caceres, if you remember on the Fury Wilder 3 undercard, knocked down Edgar Berlanga, hurt him multiple times, and just went either 9 or 10 rounds with Diego Pacheco, went rounds with, I think, Eric Bazinian it was, and Osleis Iglesias got him out early in the first round.
Yeah.
So big performance there. And obviously, Stephen Butler, I mean, what a comeback. Everyone ripped Stephen Butler off after that fight against Janibek where he got pretty much dominated. And now, I mean, to do that to Steve Rolls, he puts himself right back in line for a title shot. We got to talk to Stephen Butler before that fight. He said he was going to the USA to do camp with John Scully. And he said before the fight, you have yet to see the best of Stephen Butler. And I think we just saw it last Thursday. So.
Yeah, does Janibek have a fight lined up?
No, but he did face off with Hamza Shiraz, undefeated British middleweight contender, at the Knockout Chaos card. So I think we could see that next, which would be a great fight.
Yeah, I mean, do you think it could be possible with a couple more fights from Stephen Butler that we could get a rematch against Janibek?
I mean, it's that I was thinking about that. It's tough because of how one-sided that fight was. But if he can really dominate another, like, let's think of a guy he could like fight now. Like, I don't really know where he goes. Like, obviously up, but like it's hard to think of a specific opponent. Maybe a guy like A guy like no, because he's above Jashawn James. I don't know, just a guy on the slight outskirts of title contention at middleweight. I mean, if we want to see a final title elimination fight between him and Austin Ammo Williams, I would love that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I think if Stephen Butler gets one more good performance, he puts himself right back in line for a title shot.
I think that's all the boxing from the last few weeks.
Yep.
I
I
guess
think.
let's move in. Is
There
that
anything that
everything?
we missed on the week of Ford Kholmatov?
I mean, nothing particularly. We didn't really touch on talking to all the fighters. I mean, everybody there was just so nice.
Yeah, they're all great people. Oh, I mean,
Yeah,
Brandon. I don't want to leak anything, but we could be interviewing Brandon Moore on this podcast pretty soon.
very
So stay
soon.
tuned
Yeah.
for that.
And I think we'll definitely be going in detail more about Verona and that card with him
Yeah.
because he does have a lot to say. I remember I talked to him after the fight, and I think he was very much wanting to make a statement with that fight because if I recall, Tim Bradley was
Tim Bradley was
talking.
saying he didn't have a right hand.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, we'll save that for when we interview him. UFC 299 happened last night, which card of the year. I mean, that was right now card of the year. That was start to finish one of the best UFC cards in a while. I mean, comparable to some of the best UFC cards of all time, in my opinion. I mean, my personal favorite UFC card ever is 281. I think 281 is like it's so hard to
Perfect.
beat. Just knockout after knockout, finish after finish.
And then the main event's like one of the most legendary UFC fights of all time.
Perfect matchups. I mean, Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler, one of the best fights I've ever watched. But the focus is on 299. To start with the early prelims, we got our first glimpse of Robelis de Spain against a okay opponent. I mean,
what was his record? Like 15-7 or
he was
15-8 or
15 and
something?
7. He's a vet. I like when it comes to people like that. I mean, obviously they're going to try to make Robelis de Spain look very good. And I mean, when we were talking about it prior to the fight happening, we didn't expect an 18-second knockout. Like we were expecting him to at least get past the first round. And
expect to see him go some distance for the first time in his career.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like his power just comes from the torque and his reach, and
it's the reach because he can fully extend on punches and get so much more out of them.
Yeah, for sure. If he finds a way to channel to become more technically sound and use his punches better, I think he could definitely be a serious problem at heavyweight.
Yeah, that's the only thing I didn't like about that performance is obviously he got the knockout very fast, but the way he was just kind of running back, kind of just throwing reckless, like kind of just like throwing and praying that one landed. Like
Yeah,
I just like to see a more technical aspect. And he kind of had his chin high in the air. Like, to be honest with you, I would have rather saw like him knock him out in like the second or third round, being very technical than what I
yeah.
saw.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, he can still get those insanely flashy knockouts.
By being
Obviously,
technical and stuff,
yeah, exactly.
setting it up.
It looks, of course, it looks cool if you go on like Tapology or something and see all of his fights ending in like 3 or 4 seconds. Like,
Yeah,
that's crazy. It's an insane stat to have. But I feel like if he gets more technical, he can still get those highlight reel knockouts that are posted everywhere. Become a star. Yeah, I mean,
but like last night isn't going to cut it against top heavyweights.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Especially someone like Tom Aspinall, who is going to be heavyweight champ as soon as John Jones retires. Like,
yeah,
yeah. And then right afterwards, Michel Pereira it was a minute and 1 second, just damaged his opponent's body.
Yeah. I
Got
didn't
the
get to, I
submission.
I didn't get a chance to catch that fight, so fill me in.
It was very fast performance. Did an extraordinary amount of damage to the body early and got him wincing in pain like almost immediately with his body shots, and then got the submission. It was a very one-sided fight.
Was there any signature Michel Pereira flashiness involved?
His walkout, he was one of the special walkouts. Did a little dance number, with I guess one of his cornermen, but yeah, I mean, it was typical Michel Pereira. Very much him. I think we should see him with some better competition.
Mm-hmm.
But we all watched together during the actual prelims. I guess we should start with Mateusz Gamrot and Rafael dos Anjos. I'm very surprised with Rafael dos Anjos. I was one of the people prior to this fight being very skeptical of dos Anjos because he's a vet. Like, lost his last fight against Vicente Luque, and very boring fight in my opinion.
I watched that.
But dos Anjos being able to do some damage against a number 6 ranked lightweight, very impressive. I think dos Anjos looks great at lightweight. I think he should stay at lightweight. He looks slow at welterweight. But Gamrot got the win.
Good adjustment from Gamrot.
Yeah, very good adjustment from Gamrot. Curtis Blades, Jailton Almeida.
Ruined my parlay.
Yeah, Ian had a 6-leg parlay for this card, and Curtis Blades knocked out Jailton Almeida in probably the dumbest,
goofiest knockout in UFC history, dude.
I know. Same thing Alex Pereira got against Yuri Prohaska. Yeah. I mean, what it was is just Jailton Almeida pressing against his chest, right? And he should have made an adjustment the second he was getting hit in the head like that.
Mm-hmm. Like, he had the single leg, and like he started to get hit in the side of the head, and you think he'd like ditch the single leg and just cover up. He just stay there, didn't even move.
Yeah,
but
I guess let's talk about this main card. We kicked things off. Peter Yan fought Song Yadong. That first round, very worrisome for Peter Yan. I was worried Peter Yan was not gonna get out of that fight. But and I mean, Song Yadong was pretty much controlling the entire first round. But from the second and third round, I mean, Peter Yan kind of turned it around. He got his confidence back. I think Peter Yan was very timid. He hadn't fought in a year. And his last fight, I mean, got dominated by Merab. But he came back around. You started to see glimpses of Peter Yan, know? And I think that was really good to see. Was scoring scored an amazing takedown. I think it was in the second round.
Yeah, at the end of the
second round.
Really good change.
I wish I could see some better striking from him. He's gonna need that, and if he's gonna stay in the top 5, because I mean, Corey Sandhagen, obviously we're gonna get to Sean O'Malley. But yeah, I think he should fight down one more time before fighting back up and getting in title contention again.
Yeah, all this fight really was to me was a guy who was better than Song Yadong and Peter Yan, and just has been out for about a year, and it took him about a round and a half to get his confidence, but once he did, he showed he was a much better fighter.
I don't know what's next for him. I mean, I feel like
Cheeto?
Yeah, I would say Cheeto would be a good fight, because like I said, he does have to fight down. I don't think,
or Corey Sandhagen, maybe. Like, haven't they already fought though?
Yeah, they did. They fought in
Kieran won, I think.
Yes, it was the co-main event of UFC 267.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a rematch of that. Winner gets put right in line for a title shot.
Yeah, especially with Merab probably being next.
Merab definitely
Um,
should be next. He deserves
he
it.
should, yeah, he should be next. I think that would be a good number one contender spot fight.
Yeah.
In the meantime, and even if since the UFC is like unpredictable with what they do with title shots, I think if they do take the route and just make Sean O'Malley and Ilya Taporia next, they could do something with Peter Yan or Merab or Corey Sandhagen for an interim belt.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But yeah, yeah, I think he should fight down. I think Cheetah Vera would be a pretty good fight for him. Gets Cheetah Vera back in title contention. If I don't see Cheetah Vera really fighting for a title again, I think this was his shot. The next fight, let's see, it was Gilbert Burns, Jack Della Maddalena.
Great fight.
Great fight. Gilbert Burns dominating the first 2 rounds, doing very good. I think he should have utilized his jiu-jitsu more. We've seen in his last one was against Neil Magny at 283, where he did get a submission, I believe. His jiu-jitsu is not bad.
Wait, what was his last one?
Neil Magny.
When was that?
Or no, sorry, it was Jorge Masvidal.
Right?
Yeah, it was Jorge Masvidal,
Yeah.
and then Neil Magny beforehand. His last finish was Neil Magny.
Yeah, and
But,
then after that, it was a loss to Bilal.
Yeah, but he broke. He had an injury. I forget what he broke specifically, but yeah, I mean Gilbert Burns. We talked Gilbert Burns against Khamzat Chimaev. Like
That was the best Gilbert Burns I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think after the Khamzat fight, you could definitely tell he's utilizing his wrestling a lot more. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because he got outstruck by Jack Della Maddalena in some of these exchanges. And
Yeah,
then
he was getting beat on the feet, I think.
Yeah, and Jack Della Maddalena, I mean, personally, I don't think he's gonna do much at the top level at a number 5. I think welterweight is so loaded right now. We have Leon Edwards, he's a class striker, great everywhere. I don't think Leon Edwards has like insane knockout power with his hands. I think he's a great.
You saw it.
Yeah, I think he's a great kickboxer. But I mean Shavkat, I think Bilal will probably handle him on the ground pretty well. Yeah, I
even think in a rematch with Gilbert he might get beat. Like, I'm not calling this knockout lucky, but like very rare.
It was very late.
Yeah, he kind of lucked out and Gilbert dipping down. Gilbert kind of walked into the shot.
Yeah, it was a knee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It was a good fight. Great fight. Both of these guys kind of put themselves in a hole. Like you don't really know. I think Jack Della Maddalena will probably lose his UFC undefeated streak in his next fight. Gilbert Burns has lost twice in a row. He's probably going to have no choice but to fight down again. Yeah, there's not much else to really say about that fight.
I don't even see much of a career left for Gilbert Burns, honestly.
Yeah, I don't. He's probably not going to fight for a belt again.
He lost to Mario, lost to Khamzat, and now lost to Jack Della Maddalena.
And welterweight is so competitive right now.
I just don't see him doing anything anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe being a gatekeeper.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on. Michael Venom Page absolutely classed Kevin Holland. I mean, amazing fight. I'm a huge Michael Venom Page fan. I was gassing him up in the months leading up to this card. One of the best highlight reels you'll ever watch in MMA. And a lot of people were concerned about the skill of Michael Venom Page's opponents and him going in against Kevin Holland.
I thought he was going to get checked. I thought he was going to lose this fight.
Yeah, I mean, as a Michael Venom Page fan, I was I'm gonna be biased leading up to the fight and be like, okay, Michael Venom Page is gonna destroy this guy, but he did exactly that. I mean, Kevin Holland, I I was in the conversation for this, but it's very foolish to say that he was gonna knock out Kevin Holland
Kevin Holland's
because
had a
Kevin
great.
Holland is insanely durable. I mean, obviously he got finished by Wonder Boy late into the fight, but
That was like an
um,
accumulation. That wasn't really like a out cold knockout.
I mean, Michael Venom Page did exactly what he should have done, and I think he's gonna present a lot of competition to the welterweights at the top level. I mean, Kevin Holland was just not landing on him.
Yeah, I mean, beautifully ugly from that's what I worded it last night. I think that's a pretty good way of phrasing it. Just beautifully unorthodox. He just makes such an unconventional style work with his unpredictability and just
And at
yeah,
the same time makes it a show.
yeah.
I mean, he makes
Very
it
entertaining.
very entertaining to watch. Um,
I
with
did want
Kevin
to see
Holland,
more kicks.
I did too. I did too. A lot of Michael Venom Page's game is his legs.
Yeah.
Um, I do wish he did that more. He relied a little bit too much on his hands.
That it was
His
that
one of
right hand.
his
He threw that like I mean, and the credit, Kevin Holland couldn't really avoid it, but I don't know.
yeah,
I feel like I wanted him to maybe set up. Like, I think he could have set up some pretty good kicks with the like feints.
kicks
Or
and knees.
yeah,
Um, but
still a great
with
performance.
Kevin Holland, uh, I think what's really holding Kevin Holland back is his he's not worried about not fighting for the belt. And I think that loses his ability to fight the way he should.
Yeah,
Because I think he's not worried about losing. I think he should be because
he doesn't take it as serious as he should.
yeah. Um which I think Michael Venom Page is the exact opposite. I mean, he's very much sounds like he wants to fight for the belt, which that would be an amazing fight. Him and Leon Edwards in London.
And even though
Um,
he doesn't deserve it just off pure fights right now, I mean, the like it. I could see it happening just because how big he is.
yeah. Last night we said him versus Wonder Boy. That'd be a good fight.
Be a really good fight.
Today, I was as I was preparing for the podcast, I was thinking Ian Gary. I think an Ian Gary fight would be
I would
really
love that.
interesting.
I would love that.
Even for like a fight night or a co-main event of something, or
I think
even
that'd be a
on a
really
main
good
card of
co-main event.
something.
UFC London co-main event.
Yeah, for sure. Um, co-main event: Dustin Poirier, Benoit Saint Denis. Uh, I can't believe people were betting against Benoit or betting against Dustin Poirier. Uh, Dustin Poirier did his thing. He proved that he is still that guy. He still has it.
Benoit just got tired, dude. You could tell in that second round he was gassed, and the moment you could tell he was tired, Dustin just went at him and got the like you like I told I was like he's tired. You can't get tired against Dustin Poirier because he's
Yeah,
gonna knock you out, and he did.
and I also think that Benoit's guard was not necessarily the best against one of the best boxers in the
Mhm.
UFC. Like you can tell in his stance, like he is very open to uppercuts and hooks. Um, but yeah, I think it still proved the game to beat Dustin Poirier is wrestling.
Mhm.
Uh, he kept spamming that guillotine.
That was so annoying. He would hurt Benoit and like there were like when he landed that uppercut, dude. Benoit was practically out on his feet, and instead of going for a finish, just or instead of like trying to ground him, have him finish him, just immediately goes to the guillotine.
I could definitely see him spamming that against Islam Makhachev if he gets that title shot again.
I think he just wants to get a submission, like a big submission win, which he got
Yeah.
against Michael Chandler. I think it was because, yeah, I think I don't know. There was something last night. He really wanted to get that guillotine.
hmm Um, but I mean that was one of the best Dustin Poirier knockouts I think we've seen ever.
Yeah, that was
Um,
amazing.
I can't wait to see. Like I was saying before, he probably wouldn't fight for the belt again, win or loss. But I'm starting to change my mind. I think he could very much. I think he should fight the loser of Arman and Charles Oliveira.
I mean, dude, ESPN was talking today about him getting the shot next, which I don't agree with, but like
No,
yeah, I don't think he should. I think Gaethje should. But
I think Gaethje
ESPN
should, and
posted stuff
then
about Dustin getting the shot today.
yeah, I think he should definitely win or definitely fight the loser of Arman and Oliveira. I
Mhm.
think a rematch between Oliveira would be kind of interesting.
I agree.
He obviously hasn't fought Arman yet. Arman's very new, for the most part. But I guess we have to see how that fight turns out for 300.
Mhm.
But the main event, there's a lot to talk about for this main event. Sean O'Malley, Cheetah Vera, the rematch. We both agreed Cheetah Vera didn't deserve this title shot.
Yeah,
But
but I can see why it happened.
I mean, so much respect for Cheetah Vera in this fight.
Unbelievable.
Would not go down. He went down once, first time I think he was ever dropped in his career.
Yeah,
But
I don't think they counted it a knockdown because I saw a stat after the fight that said Still's never been knocked down in his career, but he ate a shot that sat him on a knee for a split second.
yeah, I mean, he just would not go down. That knee took that knee, broke his orbital, I believe.
I think it did. I mean, the immediate swelling, it looked like an orbital.
Yeah, I mean, Sean O'Malley proved last night that he is one of the best boxers in the sport right now.
Just, I mean, it's the persona he puts on outside of the octagon. It's just like the goofy guy, always joking around. He makes you forget that he is a world-class striker, and it makes his performances that much more impressive because he doesn't really take outside of the octagon stuff that serious on at least social media and stuff. That when he goes in there, you're just all the more impressed because you're reminded that he is a world-class striker.
Yeah, and I'm almost glad that he does that. It presents Sean O'Malley as somewhat of an anomaly
Yeah,
going into a fight. Like, I think his next fight should be Marab. I think he does knock out Marab.
I do too.
Um,
I do too. I
because
think Marab
I don't
battle
think Marab has that skill
on the
in terms
feet.
of striking. And Sean O'Malley has already proven against Aljo that he can avoid takedowns pretty
Mhm.
easily. Um,
And I think Marab's constant pressure could get reckless,
yeah.
and Sean could counter like he did with Aljo.
But at the end of the fight, he called out Ilia Topuria, which personally, I think that's the most exciting fight you can make in the sport right now.
Huge.
Huge fight. But I still think Ilia Topuria makes very easy work of Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, it's just
I mean,
she
he's an amazing striker. I I can't give any more flowers to Sean O'Malley. I mean, he's an amazing striker, but where Sean O'Malley was getting caught in this fight was the fence, and Cheetah Vera or Ilia Topuria is the most comfortable when his opponent is against the fence, and that's where he's going to be putting out, or that's where he's going to be throwing his knockout shots, and I think he's going to do that again against Sean O'Malley and put him down.
yeah, and when you put all the skills aside, Ilia Topuria is significantly bigger.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Um, and even if Ilia Topuria isn't getting the best of Sean O'Malley in the striking exchanges, I could definitely see him taking him down and submitting him too. Like I think Ilia Topuria is just so good everywhere. Um, he's gonna be very hard to put down.
hmm
I could see, like, I think he clears out the featherweight division.
I think Ilia clears out featherweight, and I think Sean clears out bantamweight. So it is kind of like a great fight.
Yeah, it is a really good matchup. If personally, I think a fight that would present more of a challenge to Sean, or present an easier fight to Sean O'Malley at featherweight, would be Max Holloway. Um,
Yeah, I'd love to see that too. I'd love to see Ilia versus
especially
Holloway too.
yeah, because I think personally, and I think we're gonna talk about 300 after this because they did finally do a promotion for 300 during this event. Um, I think Gaethje is going to do so much damage to Max Holloway that a lot I think Max Holloway is probably going to lose a lot of what he has right now. Especially his chin. Like, I think his chin is not going to be as durable after Justin Gaethje. I think Justin Gaethje could potentially knock him out.
Sadly, but it could happen. Is that a 5
Yeah.
rounder?
Yes, it's for the BMF belt. So, uh, yeah, I think him and Sean O'Malley would be more of a competitive fight. I think they both have generally the same level of striking. I think they're both equally as good as strikers, but I think that's a more winnable fight for Sean O'Malley.
I agree, definitely.
But yeah, UFC 300 is coming up next. A card that is shadowed in controversy. But
Disappointing main event, but a really good card.
yeah, I feel like if it didn't have the 300 moniker on it, it would be the best card of the year and one of the best cards they've ever done.
Yeah, they just hyped it up too much they just hyped it up too much. They couldn't have exceeded like the expectations they put on it.
Yeah, had it been Connor and Chandler, I think it would have been the card.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just it just not announced, but obviously, but they just started finally promoting it. They showed the official bout order, which
Wait, is Bo
why
Nickal
is
on the main card now? Is that a
yes, he's the
deal?
second fight on the main card. I don't know
That
why.
is blasphemous.
That is insane. I think Yuri Prohaska or even Aljo, I think that would have made more sense.
Cody Brundage or whatever that guy's name is on the main card of UFC 300.
Yeah, it's crazy. But looking at the card right now, really good card. Cody Garbrandt kicks things off against Davison Figueiredo. I think that's a great fight. I think Davison Figueiredo gets that done pretty easily. He's a great balanced fighter.
But I hope Cody Garbrandt wins, dude.
I hope Cody Garbrandt gets it done because if Cody Garbrandt magically gets back into title contention, him and Sean O'Malley already have that rivalry that would make for a really good fight.
Yeah.
But I don't think he has the chin for Sean O'Malley. What else? Bobby Green
versus Arman Sarukian is a very good fight that's flying under the radar, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's a bummer that Charles Oliveira has to fight for the number one contention again, even when he already did last year.
I mean, he was scheduled to have the rematch, had to pull out because of that cut, and now instead of getting the rematch, he's fighting Arman. I think it maybe should be Gaethje and Arman.
Yeah. But I mean, if we're thinking of USC in terms of entertainment and like as a business, I mean, Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway is an amazing fight. Like, I think that's the best fight on the card.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
But yeah, Charles Oliveira, they should have just held on to Charles Oliveira for a little bit longer. Maybe
I think this is bad. This is a really risky fight for one of your biggest stars.
Yeah, and I think they both present some good some problems to Islam. Nobody beats Islam right now, bro. No one beats Islam right now.
Yeah, I think the only guy that has a good chance is Arman.
Maybe Ilya if he does decide to move up after clearing the division out.
I mean, you can't count out Justin Gaethje, but
yeah. I mean, the only time Islam has been knocked out was against who was it? Adriano Martins or something like that.
I remember the fight. Yeah.
Yeah, knocked him out. I think he has a very lazy left hand or right, one of the two. I remember someone talking about that. I think Charles Oliveira was going to take advantage of that in his fight, in his rematch. So, yeah, overall really good card UFC 300.
Great card, yeah.
Alex Pereira, Jamal Hill, I think is going to be a better fight than people think.
I'm just mad at what Jamal Hill is saying about I'm gonna stand and I'm gonna knock him out. Like, just fight smart. Like,
yeah, fight
don't
smart,
put
take him
yourself in a
down.
situation that
Alex Pereira is
you can't stand
notoriously
with Alex Pereira.
terrible on the ground.
You can't stand with Alex Pereira.
You can't stand with Alex Pereira, and he is easily beatable on the ground. Jan
Yeah.
Blachowicz proved that. Yeah.
I mean, Izzy took him down.
Yeah. What else? I guess we could go into some fight news.
Do you want to talk about it?
What? Which one?
Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson.
I guess we could talk about it. I mean, that's talk of the town right now. I don't know.
It's just
Joe,
disappointing to see Mike Tyson do that.
yeah, his first bit of like training footage was put out today. I mean, he looks stiff.
He looks
Like
57.
he looks 57 years old. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, obviously everybody's gonna watch it. You know what I mean?
I'm
Like
mad Jake Paul was on the professional route. He had the fight against Andre August and then the Ryan Borland one, which were building him into a more traditional professional boxer. And then he just throws all that out the window and does this. Just
yeah,
frustrating.
I think Jake Paul should have stayed on that professional run
But
because he could very much.
at the same time, you
Yeah,
can't blame him because he's going to make like $100 million from this at least.
that's true. And also, I feel like his stock was lowering,
Yeah, he
especially
wasn't
against
getting as
Ryan
much press as
Borland.
he was getting for his earlier fights, and I think that kind of made
Yeah,
him mad.
people were
Like all the
they were
comments on the
going
posts about Jake Paul fights were, "I didn't even know he was fighting today."
exactly, and it's wasn't even competition. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? He was just kind of padding his record.
mhm.
Nothing impressive at all. Turns around, is fighting Mike Tyson now. I think the only light at the end of the tunnel for this Mike Tyson fight is the way they stack this card up, because they have a lot of potential to make some really big stars and make boxing like the thing to talk about.
Yeah. I hope they put some real good professional boxers on this undercard that deserve shine that aren't getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just hope they stack the card so some of these real boxers can get some well-deserved recognition. I'd be
Yeah, I
happy if
think.
Jake Paul did that.
Yeah, I hope the co-main is a really good fight.
Yeah.
I don't know who they could put on that card, to be honest with you.
Well, because it's
Is
Netflix.
it
Nobody has a deal with Netflix, obviously.
yeah, is it still an MVP card?
Yes. So
Okay.
Ashton Still will probably be on the card.
Yeah. They
Amanda
would probably
Serrano will probably be on the card.
Juana Walton will probably be on the undercard.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do with him now, dude?
Yeah, he just had a draw, right?
Yeah, in his first fight. I mean, he's
Mm,
17. That's just marketing a kid too fast.
yeah.
Yoenis Tellez, maybe, even though he fights in
Mhm.
April. Quick turnaround, maybe put him on there. I would love to see him get on that because he's a big. In 2023, he had 2 fights, 2 knockout of the year contenders. So I'd
Mhm.
love to see him get put on that card.
Yeah.
But like like other boxers, it's hard to tell because most of them are like stuck in contracts and they can't go fight on Netflix.
Mhm.
But you think they'd have to give a great undercard because it's one of the biggest fights of the 21st century.
Yeah, and yeah. I don't think there's much else to really say about it. It's
It's a gimmick
very
fight. It
gimmick
might
fight.
even be an exhibition, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think
I don't
if
know
you
if they can
expect Mike
sanction
Tyson
it.
to just go out and like use his power against Jake Paul and Jake Paul doing the exact same thing, I think you'd be very much mistaken. I think there's definitely going to be a knockout clause for this fight. There has to
I
be.
think it's going to be similar to the Mike Tyson Roy Jones fight where like they're not going 100%.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not I mean, everybody's going to be watching this fight. The excitement and the expectations are very, very low for me right now.
This isn't Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. This is Jake Paul versus a 57-year-old man who smokes weed and does mushrooms all.
Smokes weed, has been pictured with a cane.
Yeah, like
Uh,
in wheelchairs too. Like This isn't
Yeah.
Mike Tyson anymore. So
All right, we're back. To kick off the fight news, or we already kicked off the fight news a little bit,
kick off the
but
real fight
to
news.
kick off the real fight news, I want to start off with Canelo
Yeah.
because
Canelo Floyd
Canelo,
Mayweather, they're announcing the fight right after Anthony Joshua's moment. Big KO.
yeah, he's fighting Munguia. I think that is a good move.
I mean,
Uh,
I think it's the second most makes sense fight.
yeah.
Obviously, he should be fighting David Benavidez. That's no question.
And to be honest with you, I do think he will end up fighting David Benavidez this year.
I
Probably in September.
hopefully.
But I think this is a good fight to maybe even build it up.
Yeah.
I think it'd be good to have him fight Munguia here, and then David Benavidez fight someone else, and
Vosdick.
then and then uh, I I think that was technically what they were doing, something like what they were doing with the Day of Reckoning card. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
like
They were having Joshua and Ngannou or Joshua and Wilder fight separate fights, and then if they both won, they would fight on the card that just happened.
yeah, but I think it's a good fight. Uh, could present some issues to Canelo.
I mean, McGee is very volume forward. Got
Yeah.
a really good gas tank. That has proved to trouble Canelo a little. And he's got good
Mhm.
power. Doesn't have a
Yeah.
lot of defense, I will say that.
Yeah, I do see Canelo definitely getting the better of this fight. Hopefully getting the better of this fight so we can make the Benavidez fight happen.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's a good I don't know. It's just besides the David Benavidez fight, I think this is the fight that makes the most sense.
Mhm.
But there's still just it's just so hard to look over the fact that he should be fighting David Benavidez.
Yeah, and I think that's going to kind of tarnish
The narrative of
the
this fight and the narrative
yeah.
of Canelo until he fights him.
He's definitely going to be asked about it a lot leading up to fight week. I also think he's going to be kind of it's going to be kind of a part of the do they have much respect for each other, or is
Uh, Benavidez is like, I mean, I think Canelo has respect for him, but I mean, if I were Benavidez, I wouldn't have respect for him.
yeah.
No, if I'm Benavidez, I'm thinking I've earned the shot. I'm WBC interim champion. I'm your mandatory challenger. We fight under the same promotion, and you're not fighting me
Yeah, it needs to happen. It absolutely needs to happen.
this year.
That's
Honestly, this year.
this year it's probably one of the most exciting fights to make in boxing right now.
Yeah, I
Um
think it's top 5 probably.
yeah, in other news, Terrence Crawford has a fight made,
Chris
I'm pretty
Eubank.
sure. Yeah.
It's being heavily rumored. One thing I don't get about this fight, Terrence Crawford's career-long trainer Brian Bomac McIntyre.
Mhm.
Bomac trained Eubank in his last fight.
Really?
Yeah, so I mean Bomac's not leaving Crawford, so Eubank's gonna have to try and find a new trainer. Part
Yeah.
of me wonders if Bomac accepted because he maybe thought he was gonna Crawford was gonna fight Eubank, so he won't. I mean, I think it's Bomac definitely knows a lot about Eubank now,
Yeah.
and I bet him and Crawford can draw up a pretty good game plan.
Yep.
But Crawford would be moving up 2 weight classes for this fight, so
Really?
that's risky.
Uh what other fights could be made for Crawford right now? I feel like Crawford is
Tim Tszyu,
Tim
Jaron
Tszyu,
Ennis.
yeah.
Jaron
Yeah,
Ennis is
Jaron
what
Ennis
should be
is the
happening.
fight. Yeah. Jaron Ennis is the fight.
I mean, it's kind of bugging me because Terrence Crawford thinks he's above a Jaron Ennis fight right now, but Jaron Ennis holds one of the belts at 147.
Yeah.
He's definitely earned the fight. So
Yeah.
I think this is a I think Crawford is avoiding Jaron Ennis, just like Canelo's avoiding Benavidez.
Yeah. Um we just got Dillian White versus Christian Hammer.
That's a good that's a good I'm really happy that it is like short notice. Like they're not building it. This is not a Christian Hammer's not a tough test. He's a durable guy, but he's not going to pose any problems to Dillian White.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that it's like he's getting this one out of the way quick.
Hmm.
Like he's
To be
there's not
honest, to be
good
honest, I feel like Dillian White should have fought Deontay Wilder.
that they can maybe they could be building that,
Yeah, I
which
think
I
I
think
think
that makes
get
sense. If
Deontay to build up Deontay Wilder's name again. I feel like he needs an opponent like Dillian White. He just won
he needs to knock out
against.
a guy like Dillian White, he needs to get a big knockout again.
Yeah, I mean, Dillian White just beat Jermaine Franklin Jr. Right? Was that his last fight?
Yeah, and that was in October of 2022, I think. And I watched that fight live. I did not think Dillian White won.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, and I think that continues. That makes another good case for a Deontay Wilder fight. I mean, Deontay Wilder's coming off of a loss. I think it's a good. I don't want to say tune-up fight, but I mean
I think
it's a
it's a
good.
good Saudi Arabia fight throwing one of those big heavyweight cards.
Yeah.
I think you definitely fit that bill.
Uh, who else?
There's some other fights announced.
Tank just got a fight in
Tank and
May.
Frank Martin potentially for the spring and summer.
Yeah.
Um,
In a way, in Neri
oh my
card
god,
just
that whole card, dude.
amazing
Let's talk
card.
about that. I mean, in a way, Neri, that's a rivalry. Because
Jason
Neri,
Maloney.
yeah, Neri. I don't know the full story, but Neri got banned from fighting in Japan for, I believe, failing a drug test a couple years ago.
Mm,
And he's now been granted to fight in there again, fighting in a way. So there's some bad blood there.
yeah.
Jason Maloney, the Lomachenko Kambosos card, said when they announced that, the poster says world title triple header.
Yeah.
That means there's two title fights on the undercard. I think Maloney was originally slated to fight on that card because it makes all the sense in the world. It's in Australia.
Hmm.
And I think for some reason he got moved to the Inoue card. And I think we're only going to see one other world title fight on the Lomachenko card now because I think one of them was supposed to be Jason Maloney. But Jason Maloney fighting Yoshiki Takai, nobody, I guarantee nobody, I bet not a lot of people watching this know who Yoshiki Takai is.
Yeah.
Watch out. He's either 8-0, 8 knockouts, coming off a very good body shot KO. I think that was on the Inoue Tapaya's card. And yeah, I mean, Jason Maloney obviously has big experience advantage over Yoshiki Takai, but Yoshiki Takai is one of the best young Japanese fighters in the world. So don't be surprised if he potentially knocks out Jason Maloney.
Yeah. Any other like confirmed fights before we get into some speculative ones?
I know that Mo Boxing, no problem, just reported on Instagram today that Eduardo Rocky Hernandez, the guy that just lost that fight to Oshaki Foster in October, is going to
Hmm.
return on May 11th in Mexico.
Okay.
So that's exciting. Rocky Hernandez, big puncher, and yeah, I think if I maybe I'll think of something in a second, but I think that's all the confirmed fights that have been announced.
Okay. So some speculative ones. I think one that definitely caught my eye, especially because we were just at the event and saw both of these fighters. Rohan Polanco and Tiger Johnson were talking
Tiger
about a
Johnson
fight.
was on a podcast recently. He listed 3 guys he wanted to fight. One of them, I can't. I know one of them was Rohan Polanco, and I can't remember the other two. Let me see if I can pull up the video. But yeah, Tiger Johnson called out some guys: Rohan Polanco, Brandon Lee,
Okay.
and Lindolfo Delgado.
Yeah, I think Rohan Polanco's an entertaining fight against
I think that's
with
too
Tiger
much too soon
Johnson.
for Tiger, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, who did he fight last? Who was his last fight?
I would not know the guy's name.
Really?
I know the guys that Rohan Polanco are fighting. So
Yeah.
that tells the level of competition. I know Tiger, he in his last fight he did get a first round knockout though, but like, dude, Rohan
Mhm.
is I think Rohan's on another level right now.
Yeah. I mean, we just we just had some fight speculation in our comments section a couple days ago.
Anthony Sims Jr. and Ahmad El Bialy could be potentially in talks for a light heavyweight clash, which would be very entertaining. Anthony Sims, Old school style. That's kind of
I
his
love his style. I love his style.
very old school style. Yeah, he is a he got beat by Romero Alexis Angulo, but I think he's been out of the ring for a pretty long time. But
Hmm.
he's looking to return. And Ahmed El Biali is a 17-1 light heavyweight, I believe. Both Anthony
Yeah.
Sims and Ahmad El Biali are big punchers, so
Hmm.
they've got some bad blood. And seeing that at light heavyweight on like potentially a Don King show, because I think Ahmad El Biali is signed to Don King Promotions.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty. I'd be excited about that fight.
Yep. And then we just had a face off for Janabek and Hamza. Uh,
That Hamza's good, dude. Hamza just knocked out Liam Williams in 1 round. I think that might be the most dangerous opponent for Janibek out there right now.
yeah. And then I think we already talked about Berlanga and Morel,
Oh no,
right?
we haven't talked about Prolongo Morel yet.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I mean, if you want my honest, I'm not. I mean, it's a good fight. Both
Yeah.
undefeated knockout artists. If you want my honest opinion, I think Morel is potentially bold statement here. I think David Morel might be the best super middleweight in the world right now.
Really?
I mean, he is something, something. Like it
Hmm.
is. That guy is different.
Yeah.
I think just as Canelo is ducking Benavidez, Benavidez is kind of ducking Morel.
Maybe that's the fight to make to build up the Canelo
I think
fight.
it is the fight to make, but I think David doesn't want it.
Yeah.
But I would love
Um.
to see. I don't know if that's very realistic. I don't think Eddie Hearn is going to put Edgar Berlanga in there with David Morrell. I don't think he's going to do it. But a potential next fight that I've been hearing for David Morrell is Caleb Plant.
Yeah. That's an exciting fight.
That's
I've
a
been
very
re-
good.
I've been wondering what's next for Caleb Plant because obviously he just lost to David Benavidez.
It was a year ago now, so he's been out for a
Yeah.
while.
Uh, what do you do with him? Is that the fight?
I think for Caleb Plant right now, it's either him. I think there are three guys that I think the three got PBC guys at super middleweight because David Benavidez says he's moving up to light heavyweight. You
Hmm.
got Caleb Plant, you got David Morrell, and you got Demetrius Andrade.
Yeah.
I think those guys should like fight somehow. Maybe even Caleb Plant and Demetrius Andrade have David Morrell fight a guy like, I mean, I don't know, just like another super middleweight contender. Ooh, something I want to touch on. Kevin Lele Saggio just knocked out Giovanni De Carolis, don't know how to pronounce it, yesterday for the European super middleweight title.
Hmm.
Lele Saggio is French. Another popular, good French super middleweight contender, undefeated, Christian and Billy. That's the fight to make next. Christian and Billy versus Kevin Lele Saggio. Kevin Saggio is 22-0 with 20 knockouts, and Billy is 28-0, 24 knockouts, I think. So that is the fight to make. I think they're going to make it too.
Yeah.
And winner gets propelled into title contention, like
What what I'm
big title
I
contention.
missed. What weight class are they?
Super middle,
Super middle?
168.
Okay.
Canelo, Benavidez, Morel, all those guys.
Gotcha. Is there any other speculative fights?
Um, Let me think of just the top guys and what's rumored. Oh, Joshua. I mean, what's next for Anthony Joshua? I think a very realistic fight is Filip Hergovich.
Yeah. I was just about to say that. Filip Hergovich, obviously very much of a mismatch fight, his last fight against Mark Demori.
Sadly,
Uh
Mark Mori, good friend of ours,
yeah, we love Mark Demori. Uh
but yeah,
yeah, I think that would be a really good fight. Filip Hergovich needs to be presented with a serious challenge.
yeah, he's been looking lackluster in his recent fights, and
And I don't think, as much as we love Mark Demori, I don't think that kind of fight was the right move for him.
no,
Because
that
I
was just
think
like that was a stay busy.
yeah.
That's all that was. And I know that if that fight happens and after the Fury Usyk fight, which I believe it will, it will be for the vacant IBF heavyweight title.
Mm-hmm.
Because Fury and Usyk are going to rematch, and the IBF is planning on stripping the winner if they don't fight Hrgovic, who's the number one IBF contender.
Yeah.
And with the rematch clause, they can't. So Hrgovic versus Joshua would probably be for a vacant IBF title.
All right. Anything else?
Let's quickly shout out Isaac Munoz, who
Yes.
good friend of ours. I remember going to Isaac Munoz's fight against Jermaine Franklin back on July 15th in Detroit on the Alicia Baumgartner undercard. I mean, I immediately fell in love with Isaac Munoz and his style and just, dude, like everything about his style. This guy's just a Mexican heavyweight who's got skills like Canelo. Like it's
Insane chin too.
yeah. Well, she started his pro career at middleweight, and go back and watch the highlights to Jermaine Franklin versus Isaac Munoz. I don't know if I've ever seen a better chin than Isaac Munoz.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And then shortly after that fight, it might have even been before that fight, he was diagnosed with leukemia.
Mm-hmm.
And he just revealed on his Instagram that he's beat leukemia, now in remission, and doctors said he's been cleared to fight. So we'll
Who could
get
he
to see
fight
the
next?
exciting Mexican heavyweight Isaac Munoz back pretty soon.
Who could he fight next?
Okay. I'm gonna pose a fight. Isaac
Okay.
Munoz, Jean Kosabutsky. Let's make it happen. Jean
Your two
Kosabutsky recently
favorites.
lost to F.A. Ajagba. I'm a big fan of this guy, one of the best body punchers at heavyweight. I mean, Isaac Munoz is coming off a loss. John Kosabutsky's coming off a loss. Let's make this fight. I mean, two of my favorite heavyweights in the world today.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make this fight. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Or maybe Isaac Munoz versus Arslanbek Makhmudov, who's also coming off a loss.
Yeah.
What's next for Arslanbek Makhmudov? Let's think about that. After that tough loss to Kabayel where he hurt his hand, he's going to be coming back probably on one of those Eye of the Tiger shows in Canada, like those
Yeah.
small Montreal casino shows that they have.
Which is good. I think that's good to build his record up a little bit more and
Mhm.
make a better name for himself. Because obviously he is a knockout puncher. Like he is
One of the hardest
one of the
punchers in
best.
boxing.
Yeah, like he's one of the hardest. Yeah,
And I'm
I
not
think
discrediting Ajit Kabayel, but Makhmudov in the second round did break two bones in either his right arm or right hand.
could they rematch?
Potentially, I would not mind that.
I would say give him like a fight or two before a rematch, just to build
Maybe like
himself
a.
back up, build his confidence back up.
I'm trying to think of a potential opponent. Let me go on BoxRec and just look at heavyweights. I mean, just like a gatekeeper type of heavyweight he would fight.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe like a. Oh, I don't. Who's next for Frank Sanchez?
Ooh,
He is
Frank San.
so flying so under. Oh, Frank Sanchez versus Ajit Kabayel.
Yeah,
I think they're both top 5 in the WBC, so I think that could make a lot of sense. I'd like to see that.
yeah. Uh, Anything else?
Any more UFC news that you got?
Uh, I don't think there's much speculation going on right now. I heard that uh they potentially could be making Dreykus and Izzy in
For
Australia.
Australia?
Um, I mean, that's the fight I want to see. I really think they need to wrap up that beef and keep the middleweight division going because I'm as a UFC fan, I'm kind of sick of the same three guys fighting for the middleweight belt because I mean
Yeah.
Izzy's held the belt for so long and now he's
Mhm.
fighting for it again. Sean Strickland just had the belt, lost it. I'm in a way I'm kind of happy Dreykus is champ right now because it's fresh blood as a champion. I don't believe he's going to hold the belt that long with
I don't
who's
either.
in
I
the
think if
middle.
he fights Izzy next, Izzy's going to beat him.
Yeah, same. And with that, I mean, Izzy's notoriously said that he's not going to be fighting much longer. Um, I don't think there's much left for like. I think he's going to fight Dreykus. I think he's going to beat Dreykus. He could probably rematch Sean, depending on if Sean beats his next opponent. I don't think Sean should immediately go fight for the belt again next. despite being the number one contender right now.
Sean Strickland, I think he should fight Robert Whitaker maybe.
Yeah, that'd be a great fight.
That's a good fight.
But yeah, nothing is really. Renato Moicano just got the Jalen Turner
Moicano versus
fight.
Jalen Turner just got added to 300.
That's a good fight. I think
But
I wish they had kept Moicano for Brazil.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. They need to have they need to save some Brazilian guys for 301.
I think they missed a major opportunity having Alex Pereira as the main event for 301.
I think they just did it because he was the last resort. Like, they didn't want to. They wanted him to headline 301.
But I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Lastly, this Wednesday, ProBox TV has a pretty good main event between former light heavyweight title challenger, I don't know how to pronounce his first name, Roddy Vojay, Hot Rod Kalazdik. He has one loss or two losses, and the most recent one is he had a split decision against Marcus Brown, which an undefeated Marcus Brown, who at that time was very good, and has a KO loss to Artur Beterbiev, which it's Artur Beterbiev, and Sullivan Barrera, who has fought names like Andre Ward, Dimitri Bivol, Gilberto Ramirez, Jesse Hart. They face off. Main event winner gets himself back in a title contention at light heavyweight. Co-main event is Nicholas Flaws versus Luke Santamaria. Pretty good card on ProBox this weekend. And one more. ProBox is a great promotion. They're putting on an amazing fight.
Yeah.
If any of you remember Nicholas the Axeman Walters, guy that knocked out Nonito Donaire and then had that fight against Lomachenko in which he was beaten pretty bad and pretty much disappeared after that fight. He's back against Joseph Adorno on March 27th. That's a really good fight. So
this Wednesday?
No, this Wednesday is Radovej Kalajdzic versus Sullivan Barrera. Wednesday, March 27th is Walters versus Adorno. Also this weekend we've got Maxie Hughes versus William Zepeda.
Yes, that's a
good
great fight.
And then after that we also have the return of Joe Joyce this weekend.
Really? Yep, I didn't know about that.
Ash Ali on the Magnificent Seven, Queensberry's little thing that they do once a year. So you got Joe Joyce back. You got Liam Davies is back in the ring. You got Nathan Heaney headlining, the guy that just beat Denzel Bentley for the British middleweight title. I mean, there's some really good fights on this weekend. In UFC, Tai Tuivasa's back.
Yes, Tai Tuivasa's back. Marcin Tybura, he's fighting a fight that was made. I forget for what card. I think it was 298 or 99, one of the two, but they turned it into a fight night. Some solid names on the card. I'm pretty sure. Let me look here. Yeah, Brian Battle's on the card. Really cool upcoming prospect. Had a 13-second knockout last year. Oven St. Preux is back. Christian Rodriguez is on the card. Brian Barberena is on the card fighting Gerald. I never know how to pronounce this guy's name. Mershart, something like that. But yeah, it's a pretty good fight night coming up.
Tai Tuivasa's got to get back in the win column, man.
Yeah, I agree. He's one of the. I think he had the potential to be one of the biggest draws to heavyweight, and right now he's kind of killing it a little bit. I think with a win, get him back in the winning column, maybe rematch Volkov, which I think will go the exact same way. I mean,
yeah,
I don't think there's much left for Tai Tuivasa to do really anymore.
Yeah, it's sad. He was such a big star now. 3 losses in a row. It's bad.
Yeah. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it.
You covered it.
Obviously it's our first episode. We're gonna be hoping to get some people on here to interview. I think we have a couple lined up. We have 2 lined up right now.
We've got Brandon Moore. Now, still time, like when we're going to interview these guys is not confirmed, but it's probably going to be in the upcoming weeks. We've got Brandon Moore lined up, our good friend, great heavyweight, great up-and-coming undefeated heavyweight. And then super middleweight contender Sina Agbeka as well, the guy that just fought David Morrell main evented in Showtime's final broadcast. Can't wait to
Yep.
have him on, and we'll probably be getting a lot more guys to interview
In
as
the near
well.
future. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for today's episode. Ideally, hopefully, we should try to get these out every week, if not
Yeah,
every
definitely.
other week.
Mhm.
But we're gonna try to stay as consistent as possible. And yeah, I think that'll do it for this
Follow
episode.
Top Boxing News, Top Dot
Oh,
Boxing News on Instagram for all your boxing news and info.
and
Don't
be sure to
forget.
follow us on TikTok as well. We have a TikTok account.
Yep, and
I think
follow the podcast, All Things Fighting podcast on Instagram and soon to be TikTok.
Yep, we'll be posting clips of this podcast probably daily. So keep yourself in the loop.
Make sure to check out some of our merch at millions.co.
And thank you to Millions for letting this happen, for making this
Millions is a
happen.
big influence in this podcast, and shout out to Millions. Best
Yes,
shout out.
thank you, Millions. All right, that's it.
That closes it.